Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Brown James, co-founder of the Collective PAC, and welcome to our monthly speaker series, Our Collective Power. We are so excited to have two phenomenal women with us today, two women who have stepped into the ring to run for governors of their respective states, Deidre DeJear in Iowa and Senator Mia McLeod in South Carolina. And it is truly an honor to speak with both of them. As I'm sure you all know, if you listen to the Collective PAC, we've been screaming, there are no Black women governors in this country. We've never had any. Well, this is the year that we will not only break that glass ceiling, but we will smash it into pieces and it will never exist again because we will have multiple Black women that are governors in this country. So let me say, hello, ladies. How are you? Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So good to see you both. Thank you so much for your time. I know how pressured it is off of the campaign trail. And listen, I want to get right into the conversation. First, let's start with Deidre, my homegirl from Jackson, Mississippi originally, but now is all things Iowa. Just want to hear a little bit about your story, Deidre. What has brought you to this place where you're now running for governor? We know that a few years ago you ran for Secretary of State, was this close to winning that race, but that you have been a champion for small business owners and entrepreneurship, among so many other things in the state. What has now propelled you to run for governor of your state of Iowa?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi, and really created my own great migration from Mississippi. I went to high school and middle school in the state of Oklahoma and came to Iowa when I was 18 years old to attend college and had every intention of doing what typical college students do and go right back home after graduating. But I really planted seeds in this state that were just nourished by this community. As a young college student, I was able to start a small business that's still thriving to help other small businesses get started. It was during the recession. Folks were getting laid off from their jobs and didn't have a choice but to become entrepreneurs. And here I was, this young college student interning at a bank, and was able to offer a great deal of services to those folks who were thriving entrepreneurs in their spirits, but wanted it to happen in real life. And fast forward, we've helped more than 1,000 businesses across the state. I also was able to start a nonprofit when I was in undergrad, a nonprofit that was really started to help prepare our students for the school year. We give away school supplies to students, thousands of students throughout the state, and we help connect the parents and teachers to the resources they need to ensure that those students are thriving. And all of that happened in Iowa. It happened in Iowa. And when I think about this state and what it did for me, I'm empowered. I'm also empowered by where we've been in our past. 100 years before Brown versus Board of Education, Iowa had desegregated schools. And when the rest of the country was looking around trying to figure out who should marry who, Iowa was third in the nation to pass marriage equality and said, marry who you choose. And last but not least, when the rest of the country in 07, 08 was trying to figure out who the next president of the United States would be, Iowa said boldly, it should be a Black man. And the rest of the country listened. And so while the rest of the country right now is facing some of the same challenges that Iowans are facing, we're falling farther and farther down the list and not living up to our potential as Iowans. And I want us to get back to that space, being leaders in this country, because we feed the world and we fuel this country. And it's incredibly important that we maintain that. Iowa has always been a petri dish for progress, regardless of its lack of majority diversity. We're 90% white, but we've gotten a lot of things done with that because Iowans have this innate ability to see the humanity that exists in other folks. And so I'm running in this race. So my possibilities, what happened for me, are made possible for those young Black girls, those young Black boys, and all of our kids, to be frank, because right now what's happening in the state of Iowa is that our kids are leaving, vowing to never come back. Meanwhile, we have the 44th worst ranked governor in the country. We can interrupt this in these moments. This mentality that we've got to rob Peter to pay Paul is a fallacy. We can make sure Paul is good, Paula is good, and Peter is good. And we have to do that in this state. The way politics has been done in the past doesn't necessarily mean that's how it should be done now. And Black women, we know, have been incredible assets to our communities, whether we've been mothers, daughters, whether we've been entrepreneurs, whether we've worked for folks. and taking on this mantle to be public servants, elected officials, is just another way that we can add value. And that's what I seek to do in this state, add value to the people by putting people first.
I love that. And I love the Petri dish. I feel like you're a Petri dish state of possibilities. And you clearly are a shining example of that, Deidre. Thank you. So Mia, you are in what I consider my third home state. My husband is from Malden, South Carolina. Has been all around the state. I love South Carolina. It does feel like one of my homes. And I know that you have been working either as a state senator, a state representative, someone who owns your own business, you're a CEO, and also someone who comes from a family that has been in business for over 100 years in your state. What a legacy. And you are continuing to push that legacy forward. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mia, and what has gotten you into this governor's race at this time?
Well, when I think about my family's legacy of service, we've actually been in business for 108 years in Bennettsville, South Carolina, same hometown as Mary and Wright Edelman. And we are still in business today, right there in Bennettsville. I am from the part of South Carolina that has been dubbed by many as the corridor of shame. And that it really hurts. During the pandemic, when I went to my hometown, there's still broadband dead zones. Kids are having to do their homework and schoolwork in parking lots because they don't have access to the internet. And this is 2022. And that was 2021. But, when I first ran for office, it wasn't something that I ever thought about doing. I was planning to help my friend Anton Gunn find someone to represent his district, House District 79, when he was tapped by President Obama to direct Health and Human Services for the Southern region. And that person ended up being me. And so I jumped in and won a 3-way primary without a runoff, with no name recognition in the district, simply by going door to door and telling voters what I believe to be true about South Carolina. I was born and raised here. I've never left. I've recently discovered that I'm a 7th generation South Carolinian, and I'm super proud of that. So when I first got elected, we were about to start the redistricting process, and I was super excited about that. Eager to learn, ready to roll up my sleeves, and my district happened to be targeted that year. And so the Republican majority took my district, packed it with Black voters. I won with a Black voting population of 34%. They bumped it up to 52%, and I wanted to know why. I appreciated the diversity of my district. I believe that diversity makes us more competitive, less complacent. And my caucus leader said that, your colleagues might not want you to challenge them on that because it makes their district safer. And I thought, okay, let me do a little research. So I did. And I discovered that they had 3 reasons. It was a part of their national strategy in 2011 to blacken swing districts like mine for the purpose of further marginalizing the voices of the minority, ridding the Democratic Party of white Democrats, and creating a permanent Republican majority stronghold. Fast forward to now, and they have accomplished everything on that list. And we were short-sighted. I was the only legislator to fight or to challenge the lines that were drawn by the Republican majority for my district. And then in 2012, I had another incident where we had a woman of color who was heading up the Elections Commission, and not enough machines were deployed to the polling places, and the ones that were deployed weren't working. So I called for transparency and accountability, like I would do if I were in that space. And I had been as director of the State Office of Victim Assistance and as director of the Violence Against Women Act for the state of South Carolina. So I know a lot about transparency and accountability, and I didn't think that we were getting that. And it pitted me against members of my own party again, and members of my own delegation. And so I led the charge and didn't want to stay in politics, because I realized that those of us who have an independent mind and an independent voice, for us, politics can be a very lonely place. And that's where I found myself my freshman year, or my freshman term. And so I fast forward to now. After those incidents, I spoke with my pastor about wanting to get out of politics. And he reminded me that God has me in this space for a reason. I do have the courage to speak up, and I do have I am very interested in making sure that every South Carolinian has a voice and has access. I believe you shouldn't have to know somebody to be somebody who matters in the state. And that, in a nutshell, has led me to run for governor of South Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mia. And what I kept thinking about as you were talking was integrity. We know oftentimes there are folks who run for office and who serve in office who don't have, quite frankly, integrity to make the right decisions that will benefit the people. Right. And so I'm wondering, and for you both, as you are talking to voters, what are you saying to voters that's resonating with them, that shows that you have a heart for accountability, that shows that you have the integrity, that shows that you're willing to make the tough decisions when need be, to progress folks forward? Like, what is it that is making the difference in how you tell your case to voters that's really resonating with them right now? Deidre, you want to go?
Specifically in Iowa, Democrats are high achievers. And when we don't get all the wins that we want, we kind of, put our heads down a little bit and walk away with our tail between our legs. And when we look at the challenges that we experienced in 2016, we were a state that went twice for Obama. And in 2016, we turned around and we support Trump, consistent with 2020 as well. In 2018, it was hard for us, despite the fact we were able to send 2 women to Congress for the first time ever in the state of Iowa. We didn't get all the wins that we wanted. And so as a result, Iowans are a little bit beat up, specifically our Iowa Democrats. A large part of what I'm doing is reminding this state of what we're capable of. And while there are a great deal of folks in this state who aren't actively involved in the party, the other side of the coin means connecting with them as well, empowering them to know that despite all of the challenges that exist in their lives, the fact that they've got to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, the fact that they're afraid to retire on the account that their health insurance on the other side of retirement may not keep them alive, the fact that they are barely making ends meet and can't afford their health insurance, folks need to know they're not alone, and that government is in the way of their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And I'm reminding them that their voice is incredibly important in this process. Despite the myth that your voice doesn't matter, your voice doesn't count, our democracy literally does not work with the lack of participation that we see existing across this country. We need people to fuel this democracy. We miss all the shots we don't take. I'm trying very hard not to beat people over the head with this Democratic Bible, because remind you all, I'm from Mississippi, and we know that people have lost their lives, their jobs, their dignity on the account of exercising their right to vote. We know the blood that was shed there. But that conversation doesn't necessarily move people the way that building that common bridge, fighting for that common ground does. People just know they just need to know they're not alone, and they just need to know that their voice is welcomed. Welcome.
And I would say it's democracy, democratic with a small d and not a big D, Absolutely. And that's why I love that you talked about issues, and same for you, Mia, you know, what are the issues that people are talking about? What's resonating as you talk with voters and non-voters, or let me say potential voters, as you travel the state of South Carolina?
I think what's resonating most is not like the typical issues that we talk about, whether it's public education, you know, healthcare, access, infrastructure. Those aren't top of mind issues. Right now, people are struggling here in South Carolina, and they want a leader who has not only courage, but compassion, and who has the ability to connect with them on a myriad of levels. And what I mean by that is I bring all of myself to my service. I'm a working mom. I'm a sexual assault survivor. I live with a chronic condition. I was born in a small town, and I know the challenges that so many South Carolinians face. And when I talk about why I'm running, why now, I talk about my sons because they are my reasons. And both are young adults, both born and raised here in South Carolina, just like I was, but neither wants to live here as an adult. Neither wants to get married or start a family here. They are looking on the first flight out because they don't believe that their voices matter here. They don't believe that their lives matter here. And I got tired of trying to convince them to stay. And I thought about how many of our young people, how many of our best and brightest leave our state every day in droves in search of better opportunity, in search of higher pay and just a better quality of life. And that is so, when I go and speak to folks across South Carolina, that is what resonates, because they too have children or grandchildren or family members that they want to stay here. And yet they can't convince them to do that because their children and grandchildren don't believe that there's anything here for them. They have no connection to our current governor, who has been running and serving since, I think, 1981, and who only talks to a very small portion of South Carolina. He only speaks to them. He only caters to them. He only panders to them. And everybody else is left to fend for themselves. So I want to talk to people, meet them where they are, let them know that I've been there, I am there, I see them, I hear them, I understand them, because I have been in those spaces and I'm still in those spaces. I know what it's like to struggle financially. I know what it's like to live with a chronic condition. I know what it's like to go through the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur and being in business. And I believe that South Carolina is a place where, you know, everybody can thrive. We just don't have elected officials who are committed to that. We don't have elected officials who have the courage to do right by all South Carolinians, even during a global pandemic. And I think about the Republicans and Democrats who call and email me daily, just trying to find someone who will help them, whether it's helping them navigate, you know, the challenges that have been exacerbated by this pandemic, or just, you know, what can we do? You know, some people have unique issues and some people have issues that we hear about all the time, but what they don't have are leaders who currently serve, who are interested, who seem interested in, you know, their challenges and their frustrations. And I am that leader, and I've got Republican support. I've got Democrats who support, and it's so interesting to see that at the end of the day, all of us are working towards the same goals. We all want the same things for our children. We all want the same opportunities. We want equity, we want inclusion. I mean, we want a thriving South Carolina. And I represent meaningful change. I know that that will never be embraced by the status quo, but I am offering myself to run for governor because I believe it's important to have somebody who has the ability, who has the courage to lead, the ability to connect, and the compassion to care about all South Carolinians.
Thank you so much. And I'm often amazed and encouraged by the fortitude of Black women and the ability for us to continue to keep going. No matter if we hit a hurdle, if we clear that hurdle, we continue to run forward. And I can tell you that I've been very fortunate to have a number of conversations with reporters around the country who are talking about you all, and they want to know, tell us about these Black women that are running for governors, the Black women that are running for US Senate. What is it that makes the experience of a Black woman running for a statewide position different than others? What are those challenges? But most importantly, how are they tackling these challenges? And so I figured I'd come straight to the source. I have a kind of an idea, but I want to come straight to the source and ask you all, how is it running as a Black woman for a statewide position when we know we don't have many that have ever been historically elected? What are those challenges? And most importantly, how are you working to overcome those challenges in your race? I know it's a lot. It's a whole lot.
I mean,
it is a lot.
The challenges are inevitable. And I think that we have experienced a microcosm of challenges being Black women in this entrepreneurial space that are inept in the entrepreneurial space. That same type of deal exists in this space as well. It's not immune. Obviously, we've never had a Black woman governor in this country before, so there is no clear blueprint on what it looks like to win from beginning to end. And we're charting that territory now. There are pieces that we're able to pick up from Black women who have tried. And that is incredibly helpful when we think about the amazing progress that folks like Stacey Abrams have been able to make. That's helpful to us. But the more women that we get in these spaces to run, the likelier that we have success in this space as well. And the goal is for Black women in public office, from a school board level all the way up to a president. The goal is to ensure that there is a blueprint, that is possible for the women who come after us, for the young girls who are watching. I would have never imagined when I was in first grade, second grade, running for office. It took everything in me in sixth grade to run for class publicist. And I was so shy and so insecure about running for publicist that I couldn't even do my own speech. I had an Elmo puppet, and Elmo did my speech because I had a really good Elmo voice. Don't ask me to do it now. But the fact that I couldn't see myself in this space, that I needed Elmo to speak on my behalf, is a testament to what other young girls are feeling right now. That the gifts and talents that they have in them cannot be exercised in the way in which they need to be. And folks like Mia and I are in this space to continue this trajectory. And, I believe that mine is possible. I believe that Mia's is possible. And that belief is what's fueling this fire. I just got a poll not too long ago, an independent poll that has nothing to do with me, the Des Moines Register and Ann Seltzer poll, that has my opponent at 51%, and I'm 8 points behind her. We're statistically tied. No one have ever imagined that was possible. But now Iowans' heads are held a little bit high because that poll has something to say about me, but it has more to say about what this state is capable of and what the people in the state truly want. We've had governors in the state of Iowa, both Republicans and Democrats, that have been willing and able to move this state forward. This governor is an anomaly. She is an anomaly and in Iowa, but she is not an anomaly in this country. And these types of governors, we have to move to the side so that we can get the good work of the people done. Because what they're doing is just causing us distractions, pitting one community against the other. giving us all of these political ploys on the account that they're trying to do everything that they can to stay in power. I'm not trying to stay in power or get in power. I'm trying to empower Iowans. And we do that by navigating them through a democratic system, small d, that works for them.
Excellent. Thank you, Deidre. Mia?
Well, when I think about challenges, Deidre's exactly right. There's no shortage for sure. I think that my biggest challenges so far have been juggling all the different hats that I have to wear daily. I am a working mom who is not able to really work right now because I'm all in full-time campaigning, but I also serve. And I represent Senate District 22, and we are in session. And so I have to, make sure that my constituents have a voice in their government. So, and campaign and fundraise. I think my second biggest challenge is fundraising, because South Carolinians have never seen someone who looks like me in this space. Even though I serve in the South Carolina Senate, it is, it's been a challenge to get the media to pay attention to the work that I've done and continue to do, and I'm actively doing. So there's that. I deal with media bias. I wear a lot of different hats. And as I fundraise, I'm thinking about the fact that, I've got over a decade of legislative and executive branch experience on both sides of the aisle. Yet my primary opponent, who is not from South Carolina and has no state government experience whatsoever, seems to have an easier time fundraising. And that is because he looks like every other candidate who's ever run for governor in our state. So convincing, I don't believe that I have to convince voters that we need a change. But when I talk to them, there's so much excitement and enthusiasm about my race because I am different. And I love reminding them that they actually have a real choice this year. And that is unprecedented. And so, they are excited about that because they know that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing year after year, election after election, and expecting a different result. We've got to do things differently. I believe the people of South Carolina are starting to see that, envision that, and embrace that. And that gives me hope. It inspires me to keep going. I've always walked by faith and not by sight. And so I will continue to do that because I believe South Carolina can be so much greater. We can create a state where everybody thrives, where, people are able to earn wages they can actually live on, and where everybody has a fighting chance, whether it's, to get a quality education and not be held to our minimally adequate public education standard in this state, or have access to quality, affordable health care, or, deal with the systemic reforms that we know we need to help propel all South Carolinians forward. I'm seeing that things are changing, mindsets are changing, hearts are changing, and the people of South Carolina are eager and enthusiastic and excited about having someone in the governor's office who actually cares about them, who actually understands the challenges that they too are facing, and is committed to making sure that they have a fighting chance in the state. So, the challenges are great, but the opportunities are greater. And I'm laser focused on the opportunities.
Thank you. And let me say that we are laser focused on making sure that you both, can be successful, not just for yourselves, but for what I know it would mean and bring to the residents of Iowa and South Carolina. So thank you. Thank you for being of service in the most compassionate, compelling, and focused way, because it makes a difference, and for leading with integrity and effectiveness. So thank you, ladies. But I would be remiss if I did not ask this final question, because I understand what it means to have multiple hats. You both have husbands, whether you're taking care of 2 sons or dogs, which sometimes your sons feel like animals. I have 2 boys myself, Mia, so I understand. Don't have dogs yet, Deidre, but I got to get my kids out the house first.
Those boys will make sure you get a dog sometime.
I know it's coming. It's coming. But the point is, we live lives that go beyond what we do when we are, working to be of service or, doing our day jobs. And so I want to know, what does a ideal day off look like for you? And what are you doing to help take care of yourself as you go through this monumental process of running for office? Let's start with Mia for this one, and then we'll close with you, Deidre.
Oh, that is an ideal question. Not one that I have a very good answer for, but I think ideally for me, my day would look like a relaxing day, spending time with my family. That's what I enjoy most, spending time with my sons, my siblings, and just, laughing, being able to let my hair down and just chill out and relax with the people I love. That would be an ideal day for me. I try not to think about what the challenges are in terms of campaigning. It's a lot. And I haven't had a vacation in Lord knows how long, too long to even remember or think about. But I love to cook, and I love to, I love to just hang out with my family, and that for me would be an ideal day. So I hope to have one of those very soon.
And we hope to come to your house to eat your food.
I'm a country girl now. I can burn, as we say in the country, but
listen,
I love to cook.
Our family trip down to South Carolina may have a bit of a pit stop.
Right.
Okay? So exactly. I'll holler at you about that. Deidre, what are you doing to relax and take care of yourself on an ideal day?
I just had half a day on Friday, and it was supposed to be a whole day, but you know how things go. About 2:00, I got the rest of the day to myself. And I just went to lunch with some friends. I got a pedicure done. That way I could multitask. And I went to the cell phone store. I just did some real regular things on Friday. But at the end of the day, people empower me. When I'm around folks, that gives me energy. But like me, I just love to be around my family. I love to be around my friends, to hear about their lives outside of political life, what they're doing, how they're taking care of themselves. But, sometimes this space can be lonely for us, and we don't know who to articulate the challenges to. And sometimes we don't even know how to articulate the challenges. And so I try to always remind myself of my why, because any bump in the road can, bump us in such a way that we start to doubt or question whether or not this path is where we're supposed to be. And that is inevitably going to happen. But what I try to consistently do is just remember that why, because I know I'm in the right place at the right time, and anything else is obscure. I'm where I need to be. And as long as I focus on where I'm going, we're in good shape.
Awesome. Well, excellent. Ladies, thank you so much. Deidre DeJear, Senator Mia McLeod, we are here for you. The collective will continue to stand behind you, beside you. We're grateful. We're grateful that you all are in this race. Thank you for your service. And we wish you nothing but the best. And we hope to at least have some time together before the end of the year where we can be together in person and break some bread.
I'm waiting to come to a collective thing. I feel like every time y'all do it,
I know.
The next one, just call me and see if I can make it when you try to figure out the date.
Listen, we're gonna make it happen sooner than later. Trust me. But thank you, ladies, so much, and thank you to everyone that tuned in to our Collective Power Speaker Series. We hope that you will join us next month for another riveting conversation. And with that, I'm Stephanie Brown James. Take care, everyone. Bye.